Hi, my name's Simon, and this is my presentation as part of the Stoves Homegrown project. I started off introducing my name, and names are important, and that's one of the things I started out doing. I took people's names and I made them into pictures, and people could give them as presents to show what they thought about the person they were giving them to. But the way people find out about me is usually through more Viking type things, meeting me in the street making things or in a Viking market, usually dressed up in the clothing of someone from Scotland around about 1,000 years ago. There's more to what I do though, and if you gather around, well, the virtual fire or at least your screen and have a listen, I'll tell you the story and the story about the sort of things I do as an artist. As well as making things myself, I love working with other people to show them how to make things. It's almost an art form, taking people, random strangers, and helping them to work together so that they can manipulate the physical material of their daily lives into making new things. The historical element is always important to me, and some people find it particularly interesting as well. And so, one of the things I've been crafting is the Galloway Long Fada, a local Viking group that explores the history and culture of Galloway from 1,000 years ago. Galloway Long Fada is an educational charity, and we go and visit schools and set up shows. But I also visit schools professionally and sculpt a whole story that lasts a day where the pupils can interact imaginatively as if they've met a real Viking. Because I've spent time learning how to make the things that I use and how to use the things that I am actually taking in with me, and living in a community for extended periods of time to get an idea about how it all links together. This makes for a really immersive experience. Like last summer, where with a group of other people, I spent a week beside Loch Ken building a curragh. It started off as just some sticks and canvas, and by the end, we were able to row across the loch and back again. It was such a feeling of achievement. And that takes me deeper into the things I do. Achievement isn't something you can touch, but it's definitely something you can feel. This picture is kind of showing the sensing spirituality, which is what I explore. Sensing meaningfulness, looking at the patterns and the shapes, and making sense of them. And for this project, I've been making sense of the thoughts I have when I look at ripples on the water, the designs from Pictish and Iron Age mirrors, bronze carvings like in Dumfries Museum, trying to gain an insight into what it is that the people who made them might have thought. From this, I've designed a labyrinth inspired by the mirrors and designed a meditation where you can unwind into the labyrinth and use it as a mirror in your mind to help you make sense of your thoughts. And then you can unwind yourself out of the labyrinth again and put those thoughts into action. I use techniques like this to gain insight and then use those insights to create works of art like this banner inspired by Pentecost, or combining an ancient text about wisdom with Photoshop illuminations. But whilst I really like abstract thought and consider things like sacred geometry, I also really like picking up what I find and seeing how it works. Like this ink, which is made from rusty nails and bits of tree bark that can then be drawn on animal skin, such as you'd have left over from your steak, or textures and colours from the natural environment, like these crystals from a copper mine in Norway, as I can then combine with the abstract geometry and shapes, like this brooch that was made 1,000 years ago in Galloway. This means that I make images that can be printed onto all sorts of things, like heritage artwork that can be put onto t-shirts or hoodies, or letterheads, or cards, or illuminated on digital screens. The back and forward like the tide between abstract digital and intellectual work, and the physicality of hammering out patterns onto metal using fire and wind and water keeps me sane. And the necessity of doing things like darning holes in a pair of socks keeps me grounded. And with my feet on the ground, I can avoid some of the excesses of deep metaphysics or philosophical wanderings or high fantasy. Not that that means I forget my roots as a storyteller. And recently I've been launching a channel on YouTube where I take all of my experiences, combine them with ancient tales, and tell stories over YouTube so they can be accessed throughout the world. Which takes me back to where I started again, making people's names into pictures so that people could make the care and affection they had for people visible. Only the other way around sometimes, taking simple words like love and making them into complicated patterns, in the hope that this will give people the opportunity to take the time and explore senses that they don't normally use, to understand things that they would gloss over because they looked a little bit familiar. Or just sit back and relax and enjoy looking at something beautiful.